ICRT FM 100. I'm DJ Caitlin here with Sweet Talk, and Sweet Talk just got extra sweeter today because we have a special guest, Director Franck Paris from the French office in Taipei. Now, I'm really excited because I want to learn more about French-Taiwanese relations, and who doesn't want to know more about France? The language is beautiful, the culture is great, the food. Well, we have the director of the French office here. Mr. Paris, it's great to have you at ICRT. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Kathleen, and thanks for the teaser. I'm under pressure now.
Well, I'm sure you'll deliver the results. Now, before we start, I was wondering if you could share a bit about your background, where are you originally from and what inspired you to have a career in diplomacy?
Thanks a lot, Kathleen, for the invitation, and thanks for this great opportunity to have a conversation about the relationship between France and Taiwan. Just a word to introduce myself. Although my family name in Paris, I didn't grow up in Paris. I'm a southerner, actually. I come from a city of southern France called Montpellier, which is known for good weather, vibrant student life, good universities, and also a lot of sports and research. So that's where I graduated. And then I was among the first generation of European students to be lucky enough to take advantage of the Erasmus program. It was kind of big revolution in Europe for my generation because we were the first to be allowed to go studying abroad through a scholarship. So I had the chance to spend 1 year in the UK. My generation went to the UK, next generation went to Spain, the other generation went to Eastern Europe, and I had the chance to spend 1 year in a British campus. And at that time, it was a small laboratory of the world where you could have conversations with students from all around Europe, from India, from America, from Africa, and that, I think, widened my perspectives and also my ambitions. And then, a few months later, I had the chance to go to a country dear to you, which is Australia. And I had the chance to pick up a summer job at the French consulate in Melbourne, a great city, by the way, Melbourne.
I love Melbourne.
And it was my first experience of diplomacy. And I realized that diplomacy is not only about high-level contacts, but it's also about economics, culture, people-to-people relationships, and also delivering basic services to the French community. And I thought, this is what I want to do. It's connecting public good and international relations. So I came back to France with a strong motivation, and I went through the mainstream track in France, which is political science, National School of Administration, and this is how I joined the Foreign Affairs Service.
Wow, what a journey. And it really feels like that Erasmus program kick-started it all. Even though it's all the way back, in your formative years, that program really opened the eyes to the world. And I suppose you wanted more of it, right?
Of course. And, it's a program that keeps running and that has been expanded to students beyond Europe. And that means that European students today, whether from France, from Germany, from the UK, or also which is part of this program, can travel all around the world. And some of them come to Taiwan, actually, and they're very happy about it.
Wow, I didn't realize that Taiwan was on the radar.
Yeah, of course. Of course, Taiwan is on the radar. We have more than 2,000 French students coming to Taiwan each year. And I can assure you that they are happy being in Taiwan, and that we have many of them applying for coming to Taiwan on exchange programs. Of course, because it's a great place to learn Mandarin, but it's also a great place to study, to go to one of the best universities in the world, and also to enjoy Taiwanese hospitality.
Absolutely. That must be a number you're very proud of, to see so many students eager and excited to come and foster that Taiwan-French exchange. Now, looking at your diverse career, I know that you've obviously spent a lot of time in Europe, but you've also worked in regions like Africa. And now you're here in Asia as the director of the French office in Taipei. Can you walk us through this journey going through, all these different countries as a diplomat? How have all of these experiences shaped your perspective and approach to diplomacy and international relations?
Well, it's been a journey indeed. It has been now more than 20 years in the French diplomacy with very different moments and some key experiences. I think one of the most striking experience was my first day in office, which was on 9/11/2001. So you can imagine emotional shock, but it was also a kind of diplomatic shock because it was kind of a reset of all what had been trained before, and the necessity to think of another world. And that was a beginning of a kind of refocus on security issue, both domestic but also international security. And that has been one of the important tracks of my career so far. Then, as you mentioned, I spent also a lot of time in Africa. I think as I have spent as much time in Africa as in Europe over the last years. I've traveled in nearly all of the 53 African countries, and a lot of very important moments. But if I had just to pick one of them, it would be in a country which is dear to me, which is Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo. I've worked there during a special period, which was at the beginning of the years 2000. It was the end of the Civil War, and I was part of the diplomatic community trying to bring to an end the Civil War and to bring to an end a democratic political transition. And over the summer, I was there in a very remote place of DRC for D-Day, which was election day. And I was there with a UN mission, and we were waiting for how these elections would happen, and we had no clue about how it would evolve. And I remember waking up, and it was beginning of the day, and I saw these thousands of people coming from their villages and queuing peacefully and waiting to put their vote in the ballot. And I took that back from this experience that democracy matters, and it's important in our job to promote and defend democracy. So that was one of the key elements of my journey.
Absolutely. Democracy is just so important, and I wish all countries and territories have the opportunity to relish in democracy. And that is also, democracy is also something that us in Australia, we always, really pride on. Now, I think it's time we play a French tune, and you've actually selected some tracks that you really feel like represent you and your journey. So the first one we've selected is Envole-moi. Do you want to give a bit of the story behind this track and who performed it?
Well, it's a song from a very famous French singer, Jean-Jacques Goldman. It's a songwriter that was dear to me in my childhood and my teenage life, and is an artist who speaks to all generation of French people. It's a song about expanding your perspective, about ambition, also about going beyond boundaries, and also for all Taiwanese people, it's a perfect alternative for karaoke to George Michael or to ABBA.
I love that. All right, let's give this one a go. Envole-moi, playing right now here on ICRT. But stay tuned to hear more from Mr. Paris from the French office in Taipei. ICRT FM 100. This is Sweet Talk with DJ Caitlin, and joining me as a special guest, we have the director of the French office in Taipei, Mr. Franck Paris. Welcome back to ICRT.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Now, do you want to introduce the song we just heard? It was sung by Iggy Pop, but what's the name of it?
Well, did you know, Kathleen, that Iggy Pop was so fluent in French?
No, I didn't. I did not
Well,
know.
that's the demonstration. I have a passion for Iggy Pop. I think he's one of my favorite artists, and is definitely, I think, the greatest artist on stage. I attended a concert of Iggy Pop in 1995 back in Montpellier when I was a student, and I think nothing compares with Iggy Pop on stage. He's a great singer, he's a great actor also, and he can do basically anything, even singing in French, and it was a very special song, a very special French song from a very popular songwriter in France who is Joe Dassin. And so for me, that's the perfect match between Iggy Pop and French songs.
I love that. What a great selection and a way to introduce, one of your favorite artists, but also French culture. Now, you became the director of the French office in Taipei last August. Now, can you give listeners an insight into your current position and, how has it evolved or compared to some of your previous roles as in diplomacy?
Well, indeed, that's a big change for me. Coming to Taipei, a big chance, but also a big change. It's a different geography for me because when I arrived in Taipei last August, that was literally my first day in Asia. I have no background in Asia, not even for holidays. I'm lucky enough to have a great team with me to help me out. French colleagues, also Taiwanese colleagues, Franco-Taiwanese colleagues. A lot of them speak perfect Mandarin, and all of them are deeply embedded in Taiwanese culture, and that helps me to avoid mistakes, hopefully. So different geography, different history also, because when you deal with relationship between France and Africa or between France and other European countries, history is everywhere for good or for the worse, and you always have to address history to be able to address the future. Here in Taiwan, it's a different challenge. It's more about putting France on the map. And lastly, I think also for me it's a very different role because over the last years I've been an advisor of a minister, I've been the advisor also of the French president, and the main role of an advisor is to be invisible, is to be behind the scene, to make sure that everything will be on track, also to adapt to circumstances, but you are not asked to be visible. And here in Taiwan, my role is to bring some visibility to what France is doing with Taiwan. So that's quite the opposite, actually.
I think you're ready for the challenge, though. You got it. And you're doing great here on ICRT. And I'm just enjoying all the stories that you're sharing. Now, I want to know, what are some of your primary goals in enhancing the relationship between France and Taiwan?
I think if I had to sum up what I would like to achieve is to enlarge the perception of France here in Taiwan. We have an asset, which is that France means something here in Taiwan. I think when you speak about France, it rings a bell here in Taiwan. It rings the bell of lifestyle, gastronomy, romance, tourism, and that's okay. I don't want to change that. I mean, we are lucky enough to have that. But I would like to complement that, to add another layer of perception of France, because it turns out that France is also a key actor on science, on research, on high tech. You know, we have Nobel Prizes in physics. We have as many field medals in mathematics as the US, but it's not something which is widely covered by media. So my objective is that when Taiwanese students, where Taiwanese people, where Taiwanese officials think about France, they think about both. They think about traveling to France, of course, for enjoying good lifestyle, but also to partner with France on science, industry, business.
I had no idea. Thank you for telling us all about this. I really did not know France was all about mathematics and engineering and also science, but I'm inspired to look more into it. And I think Taiwan would be such an incredible partner with France to innovate and develop more new technologies. Now, are there any specific areas of cooperations that you find particularly promising in the French-Taiwan relationship?
There are very promising tracks. Last year, we had a major investment in France from a Taiwanese company called Prologium. And this company will open next year a gigafactory in the north of France, bringing cutting-edge technology for batteries for electric vehicles. And that's unheard of in the relationship between France and Taiwan. This means that Taiwanese technology will come to France, Taiwanese engineers will come to France, and I hope that will set a precedent for other investments and other business connections. We have also a very promising track on student mobility. We spoke about French students enjoying Taiwan, but we have also another track which is about Taiwanese students coming to France. Today we have around 1,000 Taiwanese students coming to France. We want to increase this number, and we want also more Taiwanese engineers to come to France, because perhaps they don't know that you can come to France and follow courses in English. This was not a possibility some years ago, but today most of our schools provide courses in English, and also they can join among the best schools and laboratories on science and technology. So we want to increase this number. And we have also an excellent momentum on scientific cooperation, especially on artificial intelligence. Taiwan is already a hub for artificial intelligence. It happens that in France we have great startups focused on artificial intelligence, about the most innovative ones, and they are interested to come to Taiwan, and I hope they will partner with the Taiwanese industry.
Wow, that sounds so exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing more French connection ties and hoping that more Taiwanese businesses or engineers or technology experts can partner with French experts as well. I'm really excited to see the future of that. Well, I thought it's time we play a song, and I know you're a fan of Gloria Gaynor. Is there a reason why you picked her song, I Will Survive, to play today? I'm a fan of Gloria Gaynor, and I'm a fan of this song because it means a lot for French people. It's a kind of second national anthem for us, because this is the song when France won the Football World Cup in 1998. So when we want to celebrate something in France, we play this song because it was a moment of joy in France, and it was also a moment of national unity. I love that. I didn't realize that this was so embedded into football history. All right. Well, enjoy this one, selected by Mr. Paris himself, director of the French office in Taipei. Sing along just like you've won the Football World Cup.
At first I was afraid, I was petrified.
Madeleine, elle embrassa.
ICRT FM 100. You just heard a track called Madeleine by Jacques Brel, and this song was specifically picked by the director of the French office here in Taipei, our special guest for Sweet Talk today, Mr. Franck Paris. Welcome back here on air.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Wow, just talk about all the different styles of music you picked today. I love it. You know, everything from a song that I feel like should be on Broadway to something that, you know, gets me dancing, singing along to the Football World Cup. Love the selection. Do you want to share a bit more about that song and why you selected
Well,
it?
this song is very personal to me because it's about Belgium, it's about Brussels, a place where I've lived, a place where my two daughters were born. And it's a song by perhaps the greatest singer in French language, who is Jacques Brel. And it means that when you learn French, when you understand French, it's not only about access to French songs, it's about also access to a universe, which is about Belgium, Africa, North America, and that French is a universal language.
It truly is, you know. I feel like French is one of those languages you could go to a country and you're not sure what they can speak. You know, maybe you can try English, they don't speak it. You can try Spanish or French, and sometimes they'll speak French, you know, more fluently than they speak English or whatever language that, you know, is the second language of their country. So,
And it's amazing how many Taiwanese people speak French and you don't expect it.
oh, absolutely. I'm there with you. I've met quite a few of those Taiwanese people. Well, you know, I want to ask a bit more about the cultural exchange between France and Taiwan. You know, what are some of the cultural initiatives that you're really excited about, and how do you believe they'll impact the relationship between Taiwan and France? Do you have any initiatives or programs that the French office in Taipei are currently involved in?
Yeah, culture is definitely one of the key connection between France and Taiwan. And lately, I've been very proud of the news coming from the Cannes Festival, you know, which is one of the biggest film festival. And it happened that for the first time, an award was dedicated to a production on virtual reality. And it happened that the award was given to a Franco-Taiwanese production, a production called Colors. And it was possible to see it in Taipei over the last weeks, and it was, I think, very successful. And this is a result of a partnership between France and Taiwan, which dates back to a number of years now. And we have made together the bet that virtual reality would be the next step of cultural content. And that means that a lot of French artists and Taiwanese artists work together on virtual reality, and they are developing really crazy stuff. And now we're coming to a moment where it's possible to show the result to the whole world. So I'm very excited about this partnership, and we are going to keep on this track. Then regarding culture, we have also a great partnership with the Taipei city government of an event which is called La Nuit Blanche, White Night. It's an event which started in Paris. It's once a year, and you have all over the night art in the streets, whether videos, whether sculpture, whether all kind of performances over the night, which means that you don't sleep over the night. And we are very proud because the Taipei city government picked up this idea, and we have now the Nuit Blanche also in Taipei. So the next one will be on the 2nd of November. It's going to be in the Dan Park and also in C-Lab. So I think it's perfect location for that. Last year it was in Chiny district. We expect thousands of people to come, and there will be, like previous years, French artists to contribute to this very special night. And lastly, regarding culture, education is also important. We have 2 schools here in Taipei, one embedded in European school, one embedded in a Taiwanese school. It's a Franco-Taiwanese schools, we want these two schools to continue growing because it's important for the connections with French language. But it's also important for connecting on values because education conveys values, and it's very important to share values between France, Europe, and Taiwan.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so excited to see some of these cultural exchanges and the fact that some of them we can even check out right now, like the film, or, we should all put in our calendars November 2nd. That would be
Indeed.
That would be really fascinating. Now, on a personal note, are there some cultural experiences that you've had in Taiwan that are really, amazing? And how does it compare to some similar experiences in France?
I must say I have had a lot of cultural experiences here in Taiwan, but if I had to pick up one or two, during Lunar New Year, I had the opportunity to travel on the eastern coast of Taiwan. And I had a very strange feeling to be in a very both unique and familiar place. It was the first time I went there. And when I saw these landscapes, I felt like, wow, it sounds very familiar to me because you have this combination of mountains and sea. And there is perhaps just another place in the world where you have that, which is Corsica, which is an island in the Mediterranean Sea. And part of my family comes from this island. I spent all my summers there. And I thought, wow, this is the only place in the world when you can have this combination between sea and high mountains of a very thin area. But actually, there is another place, which is Taiwan. And I think the second cultural experience is about football. And I joined a football team here in Taiwan. And I'm very grateful to a friend of mine called Billy, who allowed me to join a football team and with very good Taiwanese players. And they are kind enough to include me in their team. But it's a kind of cultural journey also. Because, in France, when you play football, you argue with the referee. It's part of the game. And even the referee expects you to argue about this decision. So otherwise, it gets bored. But here in Taiwan, I learned that it's not really the standards. So I couldn't help arguing with the ref. But I've realized that it's not what is expected from me. But otherwise, I must admit that football is very good in Taiwan also.
Wow. That's so cool that you're also playing in a local football team. All right, well, make sure you stay tuned. We're going to be heading on into the 3 o'clock news, but Mr. Paris will be joining us, so make sure you stay tuned. He'll be back after the 3 o'clock news with some more tracks and much more here on ICRT. ICRT FM 100. This is DJ Caitlin here with Sweet Talk, and you just heard Carla Bruni with Quelqu'un m'a dit, my personal favorite French song. And the reason why I decided to play that song is because our special guest today is the director of the French office in Taipei, Mr. Franck Paris. Welcome back to ICRT.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Well, we were just mentioning that you are going to suggest a French dish to a Taiwanese audience. So what French dish would you suggest to a Taiwanese person, or maybe any person that isn't French, to eat? And reverse, what Taiwanese dish would you recommend to your friends back in France?
I would recommend a French dish that you can find in Taipei. Yeah, because, I want it to be accessible.
Right.
And it seems to me that, like French people, Taiwanese people like to have a nice round table where they can enjoy the meal, talk, love, debate. So I thought about a French dish that you can share. And what we do when it gets a bit cold in France is that we pick up raclette as a French dish, which is about cheese. And that's melted cheese that you can mix with potato, with ham, with bread. Actually, there are many combinations, and it's a very social dish. And we like to gather around that and spend a very nice evening. And the good news is that you can find some good French restaurants here in Taipei with raclette. So I can only advise to go to this place.
Oh, you are singing to me at this point. I love cheese, and I think raclette would be perfect. Melted cheese? Oh, too good, too good. All right, so what Taiwanese dish would you suggest to your friends back in France?
I think one of the my latest discovery going to night market is fried bowls of taro, and it's something we don't have in France, and something I discovered here in Taiwan, and actually is so good. It's a mix of sour and sweet, and it's perfect to pick up like some of them and hang around in the night market and enjoy the Taiwanese atmosphere. So when I have French visiting here in Taipei, this is where I get them.
Wow, I would not have expected that, but that's a great answer. I guess there's not really much taro, let alone the whole different ways that Taiwanese people like to cook taro. So yeah, good choice. Well, before we wrap up, I wanted to know, are there any sort of upcoming projects or collaborations or areas of focus that you're really excited about and that the French office in Taipei is working on at the moment?
There is actually. We talked about a lot of things happening in Taipei, but we also want to connect with other regions of Taiwan, especially the south of Taiwan. And this is why, and not this weekend, but the weekend after, from the 7th to the 9th of June, we will be in Kaohsiung for a French festival. That would be a first one. That's the result of a great partnership with the city government of Kaohsiung. And I'm very grateful to the mayor and to his team, because we are going to organize there a French market, but not any kind of French market. We are trying to reproduce the very special atmosphere of a market in southern France. When summer comes, you have the opportunity of Sundays to hang around in Provence market. So there will be, of course, a lot of gastronomy. There will be more than 50 shops when you can come and enjoy an experience of French gastronomy. There will be above all an experience of the famous fish soup of Marseille, which is going to be cooked by a famous Taiwanese cook who is Mr. Chen, and I'm grateful to him also. There will be also a lot of culture, because there will be music playing on Friday evening, Saturday evening, and even Sunday, with big names coming. We have a Franco-Taiwanese singer who will be around, Mrs. Estelle Perrault, who is a jazz singer. We will have the band Quesada also, who will be there. And we will have a famous French singer, John Eisen, who has been one of the stars of some musicals, including Romeo and Juliet. And he made the trip for this festival. And we will have also some sports with football initiations for children, and also pétanque, which is kind of an institution in France, and especially in southern France. It's kind of bowling that you can play at summertime, but also all year long. And I went to a pétanque tournament here in Taipei, and I must admit that Taiwanese are good at that also.
Wow, so this is a special French market in Kaohsiung, June 7th to 10th. Where can people find more information? Or if they want to find more information about activities that the French office are involved in, where can people stay, in the loop?
Actually, you can come to our Facebook page and our Instagram account also. And you can also go to the website of the Kaohsiung city government. We have a nice trailer to present this festival. And it's actually open to everyone. It's going to be a very family event. But it's also interesting for students to come. Because a lot of French companies will be there coming from Taipei. So this will be also a moment for having connections with French companies who will be there, about job opportunities, about possibility to get an internship also in French companies. So because, as I mentioned, France, it's about lifestyle, but it's also about economy, business, investment, and a lot of connections.
Wow, you've really covered it all in this French festival. Well, if you are in Kaohsiung or you plan to be in Kaohsiung over the long weekend, which is June 7th to 10th, please make your way to the French festival. That sounds so exciting. And you can find more information on the French Office in Taipei website and social media channels, and also the Kaohsiung city government site.
Indeed.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Paris. It's been such an incredible opportunity to speak with you today and also learn so much about French culture. Now, I know you have one last song you wanted to share with me, Migrante des Rêves. Did I get this correct?
Indeed, perfect.
Yes. You want to share a bit more about this song before we wrap up today?
Well, it's a taste of Africa. It's a song by one of the greatest singers from the African continent today, who is called Fally Ipupa. He comes from Democratic Republic of Congo. And it's a very special song to me also, because before taking my position in Taipei, I've traveled to DRC with the French president and to pay tribute to Congolese culture, which is one of the greatest culture, I think, worldwide. We organized a concert there, and Fally Ipupa plays this song, and that was very emotional to all of us.
Wow, what a perfect track to wrap up today's interview. Once again, thank you so much, and we do hope to see you here at ICRT again soon, or at future events, or maybe I'll see you at the Kaohsiung French Festival.
I hope so. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Enjoy this last tune. It's a great option. It's a great song.